Welcome back to Visited by Voices Live. It is Thursday the 24th. We are 1 week from the launch of Region Free, and I am joined today by David Kerr, and he's brought along some special friends. Guys, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, hi, I'm Michael McGlynn. I'm the producer of Bloody Summer Camp, and I also play Roger, the camp director, in the movie as well, alongside Flip.
And I'm David Kerr. I'm the writer and director of Bloody Summer Camp.
Amber Fulcher. I'm a producer and special effects on Bloody Summer Camp and an actress for Return and Curse of the Slasher Nurse.
And there's another special guest making himself announced.
That's Ripley.
Okay. So, 3 slasher films. What kind of a time period are we talking since this adventure began for you?
The idea for it started in 2016, and we finished the first film in the end of 2017, and just been kind of putting them out every year so far, except for this year. We were planning on having the third one out by the end of the year, but it got delayed due to COVID reasons.
Oh, excuses. So, I mean, that's kind of the Paramount Friday 13th schedule, right? I mean, just one a year, get them out.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, is there a reason why that you went with Bloody Summer Camp and not re-return of the Slasher Nurse?
Yeah. Originally, the idea was to make a Slasher Nurse trilogy, but I made the first film, Curse of the Slasher Nurse, and I wanted to do something different. You know, I like doing it, but I wanted to try something different. But everyone else convinced me to make a sequel, and so we made a sequel. And after doing 2 back to back, I was kind of sick of the whole Slasher Nurse thing. I was actually thinking about taking a year off because it takes a lot of time when you actually still have like a 40-hour job, you know, to do these movies. And so I was thinking about taking a year off. So I decided, I was like, you know, I'll do a project that I really, really want to do, or I'll take a break. So I thought about what movie I really wanted, and you know, always wanted to try doing a summer camp slasher film. And so I was like, okay, well, yeah, I looked into summer camps and the feasibility of being able to rent one, and had a crowdfunder for it. Kind of said, okay, if the crowdfunder, if we hit the goal, if we make the money, then we make the movie. If not, then I'm taking a break.
We hit the goal.
Yes. You surpassed the goal.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing what a couple sharp objects in people's imagination will do as far as raising money.
Yeah.
So let me ask you though, before we go on, because I'm going to kind of, without spoiling anything, I'm going to say, so you're going to leave that post-credits tease for a third film just lingering out there? That's what's going to happen?
No, I never. We did the post-credits because, I mean, there is still always the idea of doing a third one at some point. My initial thought about doing a third one, which I mean is just one of the ideas, was to do to kind of change it up and do like a found footage type thing where the first 2 films were actually film movies based off something that actually happened, and you know, changing it up a little bit, changing the look of the Slasher Nurse up, and you know, making it kind of like, you know, these movies were based on something real. Here's the real, you know, the real thing. But we'll see. I mean, there's still always the idea that we might go back and make another one.
Of course, if Bloody Summer Camp draws a much wider audience, that might be its own distraction.
It could, yeah. I mean, if people love Bloody Summer Camp enough, and if it's something that they want more of, we're definitely, you know, willing to go back down that path.
I want to real bad.
So let's talk a little bit about the casting process for the new film, because that's kind of got a huge win in it for you.
Got a few good wins in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A lot of wins in there.
Okay, yeah. The first, obviously, the first big one was Felissa Rose. That was our initial promise. When we did the Kickstarter, one of the promises that we made was, if we reached our goal, if we raised enough money, we bring in a horror icon to be in the film. And when I did Bloody Summer Camp, it wasn't long before I decided that she was the one that I was going to target, because to me she was one of the most iconic summer camp slasher characters. There are plenty of others, and I initially contacted her through a website, and while I was waiting, I didn't know if I was going to hear back. I looked into a couple others, but luckily she wrote me back. She was totally, obviously, interested in the idea. I sent her first I sent her the treatment, and then I sent her the actual script, and she loved it, and she was totally game for coming on board. And then with this final crowdfunder that we did at the end of January, we made the promise again that, okay, if we raise enough money, we'll bring in another celebrity. And we raised enough money. We brought in Dave Sheridan, who plays Doofy, and he's in Victor Crowley, and
And he and Felissa are best friends.
Yeah.
So I mean.
Oh, so there was a connection there that helped it happen.
Oh yeah, Felissa Rose and him are in lots of movies together. So they were actually in Victor Crowley together.
And then we got Julie.
Yeah, and then we got Julianne Prescott, who's kind of she's a screen queen. She's been in like 100 films, and it's just going up.
As Scream Queens will.
Yeah.
I think there should almost be a separate section of IMDb for Scream Queens, because at a certain level, it just becomes unbelievable the amount of projects they take on in a year.
Yeah.
Like Julie, my goodness.
Yeah,
she's like doing a dozen a week.
Yeah, I don't know how she keeps up with it, but I'll tell you what, she's very dedicated. Every project she joins, she promotes the hell out of it, and she was a blast to have on set. I'd love to work with her again.
And Felissa's been doing a lot too lately.
Yeah, well, Scream Queen.
All at once. So I couldn't keep up with that.
It's a very specific kind of acting, right? I mean, because you are a draw, but you're also a draw for a very specific audience, so you have to keep working.
Oh yeah.
And I think there's nothing negative about it, because I'll tell you what, actors that can pick and choose where they go in their careers, it's wonderful. It's an art. It's wonderful, but it also dries up.
Yeah.
Whereas Scream Queens have longer careers, which is ironic, because when you really think about it, the biggest complaint you hear out of Hollywood for women all the time is that they have a limited time to get in, make their money, maybe become a character actor, but that's few and far between. That's an unfortunate reality of Hollywood. It's not right, but it seems to be what goes on. But yet streets, your Linnea Quigleys and your Brink Stevens can work for decades inside a targeted market.
It's really good to women.
It is, and it doesn't have that reputation necessarily, but I think that's short-sighted.
Yeah. No.
That's pretty intense. So, no problem. So, you know what I'd like to do, with your guys' permission, is play the trailer for Bloody Summer Camp, and then we'll talk a little bit about the process of getting this film off the ground and getting it where you wanted it.
Yeah, sure.
I'm counting on you guys to help everybody get the hang of things around here.
Don't worry, Mr. Lee. We won't let you down.
That's what I like to hear.
In 1986, counselors at Camp Trustfall are preparing for the new summer.
Zach! What is? I'm busy. Bob wants to see you. I gotta fucking deal with these little fucking shitbags all day. This is the only thing that gets me through without putting a bullet through my fucking brain.
It's all fun and games until one of the new counselors goes missing.
Where's Zach?
I haven't seen him.
Nobody's gonna want to send their kid here anymore. This is gonna ruin
We
me.
might be okay. No body, no death.
You gotta call the police, Michelle.
Now, an evil lurks in the darkness.
There was a guy on the shore. He was watching us.
Isn't the camp legend come to life? Or does someone else have an axe to grind?
Well, how fun is that? And if you guys didn't know, language is not a problem on the show.
Cool.
You may have guessed. It's not like I got that queued up and didn't preview it. So let me ask. Obviously, there's heavy sleepaway camp, Friday 13th, and burning vibes throughout that trailer. What were your main inspirations? I mean, those titles are pretty obvious, but what else?
Pretty much all the slashers. I mean, I really love My Bloody Valentine. It's like one of my favorites. And especially with the trailer, we tried to go with the typical like 80s trailer. I forget which one specifically we kind of went off of, but that deep voice, we were trying to just like reminisce about those type of trailers from the 80s. But specifically, it's heavily on the sleepaway camp, in the sense that originally my first idea was to film it also like sleepaway camp, where you didn't see who the killer was. But that was just I eventually decided to change it, make it kind of more like kind of like a mix of Friday the 13th, like not part 1, because that was, but like part 2 and 3, where you see the killer, but at the same time, it's still a guess who, as far as who it is. You know it's someone in the film, so it kind of takes both of those and mixes it together.
So a big thing of like just 80s horror, where it has comedy and campy vibes and blood and titties and
the essential checklist, the shopping list.
Yes.
Yeah, and like I said, we tried to tap into every, not just the summer camp slashers, but like I said, My Bloody Valentine, Tourist Trap, films like that. The same kind of, it's secluded, because kind of like Friday the 13th, or like I said, Tourist Trap, rather than it being an open camp, it's before the camp opens. It's like the same formula with Madman and all of those, where they're isolated. That's what I liked about the whole thing, was a group of people are isolated, where you in the 80s, you take away your car, you take away one phone line, and you're trapped, and that's what I wanted, was a small group of people who are stuck in a location and are being picked off one by one.
Yeah, that is the bane of modern horror right here.
Yeah.
The cell phone.
Yeah.
So let me ask Michael, what did you grow up loving horror?
Oh, absolutely. Even from when I was a little kid, I actually entered that TV show, Freddy's Nightmares. Of like that, that's what ran one. They actually had a contest that I entered from that to get free tickets. It's kind of funny because we were talking about it earlier a little bit. To win free movie tickets to go see Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 in the theaters. And I actually won that. And I've just been a big lover of horror. I want to say ever since I was probably about 10 years old, begged my parents for me to stay up late to watch Friday the 13th. And my mom, of course, was like, no, absolutely not. You're too young. You can't be watching that kind of stuff. My dad was like, no, honey, it's okay. Let him do it. Let him do it. It'll scare him out so bad, freak him out. You never want to watch another horror movie again. So my mom reluctantly agreed with him to let me do it. Slept up all night, got up next morning, had breakfast with my parents. And I was like, so, how's the movie, son? I was like, oh my God, Dad, I loved it. And guess what? Apparently they already made 4 other ones. Can I watch all those too?
Well, once they let you see one, it's hard to say no, right?
It's like a potato chip. You can't just have the first one and not continue snacking on the rest.
And it's kind of like those off-flavored limited time potato chips, in that not everyone's going to get the flavor, but those who do can't get enough.
Yeah. You know what we're saying out there, all you Shamrock Shake lovers.
Exactly. You McRibbers.
Oh yeah, the McRibbers.
So Amber, you're wearing a bunch of hats on these films.
Yeah.
So
keep taking them off and put them on.
So how did that come about? And is there something you prefer to something else?
Well, I'm married to him, so that's part of it.
So it's a sort of slave labor, then, I take it.
Yeah, it's free labor. I love special effects. I love all the gore and doing it. I don't like actually being in the movies so much as, being the producer and special effects. And because like Mike, I grew up with horror movies. That's my thing. I love horror, and doing all the gritty bits and stuff. I really love it. So.
Awesome. So Dave, how did you originally get bit by the horror bug? What was that inciting incident that caused you to drag these fine folks into making films with you?
Well, there's really 3 things probably. I grew up watching horror movies. It's kind of one of those things where I don't remember. Like, I've heard people get asked questions before. What was the first horror movie you've ever seen? And I don't know, because I've always, from the time I can remember, I've watched horror films. My dad loved watching horror films. He'd go rent them, and I've seen them. Like I said, from as far back as I can remember. And then I got with her, and she was a big horror fan. I watch a lot of comedies, and one of the biggest areas where we struck kind of like a chord as far as being similar is our love for like the 80s movies like Evil Dead, that incorporated both a lot of gore but also entertainment value.
We found common ground.
Yeah. And I love horror. I love suspense movies as well, but that's where we really clicked, was in that 80s genre. And so, getting back into watching horror films with her and everything. And then the whole idea for the film came from, I used to make music videos for a band that I'm in. And I'd recently reconnected with one of my friends from high school, and his girlfriend was into doing like special effects makeup and doing horror photography, and he kept bringing it up to me that we should collaborate, we should make a music video for your band with horror in it. And so I came up with this idea of a silent film for a music video that was Charlie Chaplin versus Nazi zombies. And
of course, because we all would go there.
Yeah, we filmed it in one day, and we had a blast making it. And then after that, it was another 2 years went by, and they kept talking about we should make another one. We should make another one. And originally, I started coming up with an idea for a music video, but I eventually changed and decided I wanted to write an actual script for it. I wanted to actually have dialogue. And so it changed from that to a short film, and eventually got changed into a full-length film. So those are really the 3 stepping stones that kind of got me to making my first film.
Okay, so were all of you involved with Curse, or?
No,
I wasn't. Bloody Summer Camp is my first one I came on to start doing and start working with him on.
He actually reached out to me during Return and wanted to be a part of it, but that was when I was already in post-production. So I told him to hit me back up when when I got around to doing my next film, and when I started doing Bloody Summer Camp, I think I messaged him and told him, "Hey, just let you know, I'm doing, we're doing another film."
So your films obviously cost a fraction of a typical Hollywood production, and I don't think that's a negative at all, because I'll tell you what, limitations make people work harder for better results. Period.
Mhm.
Especially in a genre like horror. But something happens after you make Curse of the Slasher Nurse, which is it's pretty exceptional for films of its budget and size. You get some distribution on it that gets you pretty wide. Can you tell us about that?
With Curse, yeah. After Curse got released, we reached out to some distributors just to see if anyone was interested in picking it up, and someone that actually hit me up that was interested in being in return. They actually suggested to me. They said, "Hey, they saw, because I originally released the film on Amazon Prime before it got picked up for distribution." And one of the people who watched it on Prime, they reached out to me about being in the sequel. And then they also told me, "Hey, just to let you know, why don't you have this distributed?" I said, "Well, I've reached out to a couple of people. I haven't heard back." He's like, "Well, you should contact these two people. I'm pretty sure one of them will distribute it." And so I contacted them both. They both wrote me back, but I ended up getting distribution through Screen Time Films.
And that is a success story in itself that very few filmmakers at the beginning of their career can say happens to them. So congratulations on that, guys. That's also just a testament to what the obvious love that's in your films. You can see not just I always use the phrase made by human hands, because that's an increasingly rare thing, that you can see something was made by people, not computers, or by a boardroom.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a strong facet of, I think, what's the appeal of your films. But to see it break through and be able to find an audience is an amazing thing, and it's heartwarming, because it means there's a way forward for the small independent horror film. And I think too often people get very disgruntled because it is an uphill slog a lot of the time. So you decide to do Return, and somehow start convincing actors to do extremely uncomfortable scenes with giant dildos.
It wasn't that hard to convince them. Surprisingly.
He took it like a champ.
Yeah.
So I guess my real question there, besides the shock value of asking it, is just, when you're talking about low budget filming and obviously exploitation films, how do you go about that conversation with people, just saying, okay, so this is what I need, and it might not be seen by a ton of people, and I'm not going to offer you a lot of money, but will you do this X,
So there's a lot of people involved in these films that are passionate like we are about horror. So, when you have that love for it, you're willing to do obscene, obscure things. And as far as the conversation piece, you got to just be 100% transparent. Hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And be aware that, plenty of people are going to see this forever.
That's either a selling point or a detriment. I can't decide. Because if you're going to do it, if you're going to agree to it, at least you want it seen, I guess, right?
I remember the actual conversation about that scene with the people. We were trying. I always want to make a movie better, and then there's always a part of me that wants to top something. When we did Curse of the Slasher Nurse, we had a premiere, and in the theater there was one scene. I'm not gonna tell you in case you ever do watch the movie, but there was one scene where people not only laughed, but they stood up and started clapping at this scene. And it was like the most outrageous scene in the entire film. And it was similar, kind of similar to what we did with the dildo scene. And so my thought was, okay, well, we got to do that, but bigger. And so,
well, bigger you did, clearly, even without a comparison.
We had Wayne and Sarah They're actually husband and wife, and Wayne was actually at our premiere, so he saw the scene. And so, when he got the part, to be in return, him and his wife, I basically sat him down. I brought him over to our house, and I sat him down. I was like, okay, so here's the deal. You two are the couple, and you've seen Curse. How would y'all like to have like the most memorable scene in the movie? And so then he was like, okay, well, hit me with it. And so at the time, I had a different idea. It was kind of similar, but it was like, okay, it was kind of like they were doing something different when it happened. And they were actually trying to like act it out on the couch in their clothes. They're like, okay, so what do you mean, like this? And we were actually sitting there, and I remember thinking about how awkward this is. It's like the weirdest conversations. I want you to do this when you're doing this. But they were 100% for it. The only thing that there was any kind of reservation about, I mean, with the dildo, Wayne was just like, yeah, let's do it. The only reservation was Sarah didn't know if she wanted to go topless in the scene or not. But eventually she just said, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
It was really, really interesting to shoot, too, because you had Wayne there with his ass out for the whole world to see. And then you had me on the side of him as kind of a placeholder for the dildo to go.
Yeah, it was like,
his wife
this is her hand.
Sticking it into my hand.
Because when she was doing it, it was going too far. It's like your hand is going in his ass.
I think this is physically impossible at this point. I don't care what kind of stretching exercises you do. This ain't gonna work.
And the scene where there's blood splatter. I have the worst luck with white walls and blood. And this happened to me 3 different times where we'd have a mark and the blood would go somewhere else. I was repainting walls. It was supposed to squirt on his ass. It's like, okay, we have this tube, it's set up, it's pointed like right here, right at his ass. And so it's like, okay, and action. And it shot over there on the fucking wall. And we had to halt everything. And I had to start like trying to scrub the wall in between takes to try and keep from having to paint it again.
Because you don't have places of your own. You have to.
Oh no! Of course. So
Yeah.
were we talking Kerr syrup and food coloring, or we?
No, like stainable, like the regular stage blood that doesn't come out of anything.
Yeah, the last time I ended up painting a ceiling because one of the end scenes, when I'm not going to say who, but when someone gets shot, it's like, okay, so the thing's right here. She's going to get shot. It's like, okay, we had plastic all over the walls. Okay, action. And it shot straight up to the ceiling.
But you know what? Thank you for that, because we hate digital blood here.
Yeah.
So thank you for painting some ceilings.
Yeah.
And
the way it is too is the cheaper the movie, the worse it is as well. Because I mean, even the best CGI blood just doesn't have the right feel to it. But the cheaper your budget is, the cheaper your CGI effects are, the worse it is. To me, I think that's, if you're doing low budget, I feel like you have to go, or you should go practical, because if you can't afford multi-million-dollar effects, then it's not going to look good. And even then, like I said, it's still not good.
I'm full supporter of just practical effects.
Even if we had the budget, I still wouldn't do CGI, because I love practical effects.
we have a few questions starting to roll in here. I'm going to take them in the wrong order because that's what I do. So Jamie simply has a comment. If this movie has a dildo scene, that's a winner. And
it's a spectacular dildo.
We called it Excalibur.
That's pretty accurate. So Jess Graham says, I didn't hear, what are the average budgets for their features? Now, you guys can get as specific or as vague as you want on that. I do understand that.
Yeah, it's in the thousands, but I'm talking like a couple thousand.
The first one was like $1,500.
Yeah, and the second one was actually less because we didn't do as much crowdfunding on the second because we already had costume. We were basically working for free. So, and we got the location for free. So we didn't really have to raise a whole lot of money for it, making a sequel from the first one. We just needed money for basically for special effects.
But the third one.
That third one. Boom.
Yeah, the third film where we've raised between the three crowdfunders, we've raised about $40,000.
Which, again, Hollywood would sniff at that, but the whole thing is for an independent film, that's an accomplishment of itself.
Oh yeah.
Right.
We were surprised when the first one hit 12,000.
We're like, yeah.
Yeah. And Hollywood was like, that's catering for 2 days. But it's also interesting that we always talk about like being able to see the money on screen, right? And it's a double-edged sword. When you don't have money, sometimes you can say that you don't have money on screen. But you start to realize when you talk about these films that cost $150 million to make, say if you're making a Mission Impossible sequel, do you really see the money on screen? Because if you guys at $12,000 can make a coherent, entertaining film, then what the hell did they do with that money?
It's who they're paying.
The funny thing is, what you just said was my entire idea for making the first film. Was I'd seen, there's obviously bad films, but I've noticed, I go on IMDb a lot, and I'll be watching a film, and it's unreasonably terrible. I mean, it's bad acting, it's bad, everything's bad. And it was like, what did they make this film for? And I look it up, $1.2 million. Where the fuck did that money go? And so my whole premise for making Curse was, I guarantee you that I can make a film for a couple $1,000, and it will not be the best film. You might not even like it, but I don't think it will be the worst film you've ever seen. And I believe that it will be more entertaining than half the shit you see that's got $1 million budget. And that was my whole idea for making it in the first place. Was I didn't understand why it took that much money to make a film.
Well, guys, I mean, I'm a broken record on this channel. You guys haven't had to endure it, but the audience has. At this point, I'm so not excited about American horror. I'm talking about commercial American horror.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you look at what's happening in Indonesia and India and even Russia, they're lapping us because they still want to do original stories in original ways, and they're working on limited budgets because they don't have the Hollywood infrastructure, but they also don't have to have to pay the ridiculous unions and whatever that push costs up just automatically. I think there is a real umbilicus between those low budgets that force people to be creative and an end product that's really compelling, that you look and you can see authorship. So believe me, I wouldn't have, when I approached you guys, I took a little bit of a leap of faith, but I could see that you guys were passionate, you cared, and I also could tell that you were human beings, which is not always the case. Sometimes people just seem like almost disinterested in their own product, and you guys didn't feel like that.
Yeah. I agree. Luckily, most of the people that I've had experiences with in the indie horror film are just as passionate. They love what they do. They love making it because, like I've heard people say time and time again, if you're not passionate about it, why are you doing it? If you're in it for the money, you're in the wrong business, because you're not going to make a lot of money.
Get passionate about flipping burgers because you can make a lot more there.
But I've also heard horror stories about directors or filmmakers that already, kind of have their ass on their shoulders and act like they're already, above being a decent human being, because they've made a couple films. So I mean, there are those people, but luckily, like I said, I think most indie horror filmmakers are horror fans who are passionate about what they do.
You know, pretty humble and make amazing work. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I would rather support the small independent film with heart than than Underwater, a film this year that was clearly not. I don't think there was a human being anywhere near the cast or crew. I don't think there was anyone in the zip code of the filmmakers that actually had a pulse. Because you look and go, yeah, it's pretty and empty, very, very empty, just like all the souls of everyone who made this thing. Jess Graham has another question. He would like to hear more about your experiences working with Felissa Rose.
She's amazing.
All right, you go first.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, Amber hit the head right on the nail. Absolutely amazing, Felissa. I'm not sure if you've all ever met her at the cons. You know, she is so full of life, so full of energy. I mean, you really just wonder. No one can really be this highly motivated and this highly energetic around the clock. She really is. And what's best about her is she's very sincere in everything she says and she does. You know, like when we brought her on Blight Summer Camp, she was even telling us how much she loved it, how much she always wanted to come back and work with us. And of course, we were thinking, oh, that was very nice to say. Then we got Dave Sharon, got Julie Prescott, and sure enough, who's hitting us up? Hey, so I heard you got Dave. I wouldn't mind coming back. You know, let's have me come back too, and let's do some more shooting. Oh, I see you got my good friend Julie. It's her birthday. Well, I want to wish her happy birthday. I will come back out again and do some more filming. I mean, you could have asked for a better liaison to do a camp / a horror film as your lead than Felissa. I really challenge anyone to give me a better name.
She's actually really helpful too, as far as like she's dedicated to her film, so you know she'll approach Dave or me and just tell us about distribution and things like that, kind of try to guide us in the right direction, because that's who she is. And on set, man, she's always so exuberant and excited, and it just makes the day so amazing. We weren't sure how to feel like when we were going to pick her up from the airport. We're like, I've never met her before. I don't know how she's gonna be. How's this gonna go? And then right off the plane, she's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I talked to some people before, and I've read things people said just about how amazing she was and how friendly and how everyone loved her. And obviously, people say that a lot. And I mean, not only was it true, but I always tell Felissa that I think they still undersold just how nice and how amazing of a person she is. From the time you see her to the time she leaves, she's nothing but positive. She's the sweetest person on earth. And when we filmed with her the first time back in September of last year, the entire cast fell in love with her, and they all said that it was one of their favorite experiences that they ever had was being able to work with her. So I completely have no regrets about being a part of her. And, we've actually become friends with her. It's not just, she wasn't just in the film. We've seen her several times. Like I said, she's come back a couple times and filmed with her. And she's just, we don't just, film with her on a set, we hang out after set, we go out for drinks, we talk, and she's an amazing person. So if you ever have a chance to meet her, definitely do it.
Should.
You get a chance to work with her, you're lucky.
Yes.
So your movies have this definite kind of punk rock, heavy metal aesthetic to them. Not just in the score or the music used, just in the attitude. There's a certain irreverence that I think really well suits the independent horror film. So what's your guys' background in music?
Basically exactly that. I mean, we're not only horror fans, but we're all rock and heavy rock. Kia and Josh, who both play in the movie. Kia plays the slasher nurse, and Josh plays Josh and Jax. They're both heavy and big into heavy rock. I am alternative rock, but also heavy rock, and she's into heavy rock too. So I mean, from everything from like she just showed that's Darren Miller's new band, 96 Bitter Beings.
It's actually Felissa Rose's husband.
Yes,
It's one of my favorite bands.
So and like a couple of people point out that that the mask from our film Bloody Summer Camp, the double face mask, actually looks like one of the nameless ghouls from Ghost. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's actually a Italian Venetian masquerade mask. It's made from leather. It's made out of leather. It's from Italy. But I searched for a long time trying to find the right mask to use for the film. I originally didn't want a double mask, but I love the way it looked, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I did see the resemblance, because obviously Ghosts they touch on Catholicism and parodying that, so I'm pretty sure that they got their kind of design for the nameless ghouls from like Venetian masks anyways. So yeah, that's pretty much our main genre of music. From most of even Wayne, who plays Rob in Return, is big into like Avenged Sevenfold, shit like that.
And it's funny because I think there is a very natural crossover, because horror never has gotten the respect it deserves, and hard rock in particular has always had to fight its way out of the clubs just to get any national recognition. So I think there is like a real similar experience between rock and roll and horror.
Yeah, like it's not like country music or something like that. That is in some ways considered like a respectable type of music to listen to. You can play it basically anywhere. Usually there's no foul language in country music, and usually it's got a nice mellow sound to it. But rock is in your face. It's got, sometimes the lyrics are a lot of the times there's rock songs that are about murder. There's rock songs that are about stuff like CKY. Their whole idea of CKY is a lot of singing. It's like kind of like horror rock. So there's definitely that connection between rock and roll and horror, more so than other genres of music.
It always feels like when they try to make other genres work inside horror, it doesn't really work anywhere near as effectively as the hard rock genres in general, whether you're talking punk or metal or industrial or even just straight hard rock. There's something that specifically seems to cross over really cleanly.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only other type of music that can have that kind of aggressiveness is certain types of rap. But even that, I mean, I'm not really sure if that would cross over.
I think there's something there, right? I think that's a good possibility, but Hollywood doesn't know what to do with it. So what we get right now is just, if there's a black actor in a film, they put hip hop on it because they think that's relevance.
Yeah,
and it's really just racism, probably. But
in the hood or something.
Yeah,
right. And I think that there's something there, though. I mean, I think that I'm currently doing a series which will premiere October 1st, in which I'm doing storytelling autopsies on the Halloween series. And one of the key themes is that those films were born out of the idea of urban crime coming out of the urban centers into the suburbs. And so I think like the modern analog today could use hip hop in a very relevant way, but it seems like Hollywood would never think on that level. They just think there's a guy with a dark complexion on screen. Let's play a hip hop track.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like you said. I don't think they would know how to blend it correctly. But that's the only other thing I can think of. Pop music or country. I think rap's probably the closest.
Yeah.
Next to rock.
So what's next, guys? I mean, you're finished. You're in post production on Bloody Summer Camp.
Yeah, we have one last little scene to film. But yeah, we're in post production for Bloody Summer Camp.
And already on it next one.
Yeah. And as far as what's next, the next big project that we have is we're kind of doing the early stages of another film called Go Away, and it's an intruder type modern slasher film, kind of in the sense of like Strangers or The Purge, with a twist. We don't want to give away exactly what the twist is, but it's got kind of a twist too.
It's a cool one.
We're starting right now to do we just cast a small cast for a pits trailer that we're going to do. It's the same thing we did with Bloody Summer Camp. We got a cast together. We filmed a short kind of pits trailer, like a pilot, and that's what we're going to use to try to get funding for the film, to show everyone the idea that we have. But in between that, we're not supposed to film that until November. But this week, one other thing that we're doing now is we actually are going to be filming a short film this weekend. It was kind of a last minute thing. We wanted to submit a film to a film festival with Joe Bob, but it's only short films. I've never done a short film before, and so I wanted to submit to it. And so I've had I've got like 3 current ideas for films, and we chose Go Away. This was the kind of like my secondary idea that I had that I really liked, and I was talking to her about it, and she suggested, well, this other idea that you have, that would be great for a short film. And so Monday evening, I'm texting my cinematographer, Owen. I'm like, hey, you think we can get a short film done by this weekend? And he was like, probably. So I spent an hour writing a 7-page script for this other horror idea that we had. And I started calling some of the actors that we worked with in Bloody Summer Camp, and asked them if they wanted to be a part of it. And we'll have that filmed and hopefully have it filmed, edited, scored, color graded by the end of Monday.
Nothing like a little challenge. So, and besides, sleep is very, very overrated. Caffeine exists, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So where can I did include some links under the video already, but I'm not sure I hit everything. Where's the best way to keep up with everything that Slasher 15 is involved in?
We're all over most social media. We're on Twitter at Bloody Camp. We're on Instagram at Bloody Summer Camp, and we're on Facebook at Bloody Camp. We're also I thought I said Instagram at Bloody Summer Camp. We're also on Slasher app. If anyone has Slasher app, we're on there as Bloody Summer Camp, I think. And we have slasher15.com. That's our go-to place for all our films for Curse, Return. We have an online store on there if you want to buy any films that are on there. They're currently available. So yeah.
Also be able to get a copy of Bloody Summer Camp if you didn't grab one during our crowdfunding. You can get a copy there as well.
I don't have that up yet.
Oh no, of course it's not out yet.
I don't have a link for that yet.
Oh.
One
To be determined.
to be determined. Don't worry, it'll be everywhere.
Yeah.
So before we lead out here, guys, can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Could you just ask me what's coming up on the channel?
Yeah. What's coming up on the channel?
What's going on the channel?
What's coming up?
All right, so that takes us to the end of September, and I do want to point out to everyone that the panelist show, formerly called the Sausage Factory, is starting again under a new identity and a little bit more structure under the name Region Free. That will be on the Region Free channel. It will not be on this channel. That's where you'll find me next Thursday. We have a community show on Saturday as a matinee at 2 p.m. We'll probably go for about 3 hours as usual, talking just nonsense until everyone is too drunk to actually listen to me, the only sober one in the car, ever talk anymore. Then on Monday, we have Eve Lestrange, author Eve Lestrange, who was also at one point a bassist for the band The Empire Hideous, will be joining us for our conversation. I can't wait to announce all of October because I think it's going to excite a lot of you. It's a great packed schedule. And in there, of course, Region Free will be on Thursday night, on certain Thursday nights throughout that month as well, to take us right to Halloween. And that's actually my final question for you guys. What are you doing for this Halloween, guys?
Drinking.
Probably watching a bunch of horror movies. I just bought the new Shout Factory Friday 13th box set. Hopefully I'll be getting that in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to sit down and watch that.
Do you have a favorite Friday?
Oh, that's a good one. I have to say part 3 or part 4.
4 is a good choice. I like the original is my favorite, but 4 is the second. How about you guys?
4.
Yeah, which question is that? The
any of them? What are you gonna do for Halloween, or what is your favorite Friday the 13th, or both?
Halloween is my birthday, so whatever I'm doing will include alcohol.
Well, there you go.
Probably staying in just one, I imagine, and yeah, probably kicking back watching some horror.
I'm going trick or treating.
What will you be this Halloween?
I'll be Shock.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's always a surprise with her. And my favorite Friday the 13th, it's probably probably part 4 or part 6.
A lot of love for Final Chapter, which you'll see a poster of right there. Look at that. All right, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. This has been a lot of fun, and you know what? I think that you're on the right road to better and better things with each film. I really had a lot of fun with Return of the Slasher Nurse. I'm sure I'm gonna have a lot of fun with Bloody Summer Camp, and I'll get to Curse. I promise. I just didn't want to lie to you about it.
Oh, we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank everyone out there in the chat, man. It was a really lively chat about a lot of things, some of them even having to do with what we were talking about on the show. And I hope all of you will be joining us on Saturday for the community show. That includes you guys too, Dave and friends. By all means, come on back. I post the link in the chat because I'm insane, and first come, first serve. A lot of good people talking horror. In the meantime, though, have a great rest of your week and a great rest of your night.
Ev, I want to talk to Martin.
So talk.
Alone.
Crisp, flavorful fish sandwiches, golden brown and crunchy outside.
Everybody knows the weasel blows, but popcorn, she pops real good.